So we'd like to welcome Christina Etchberger to our show. How are you doing, Christina?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So you are coming to us from the great state of Oklahoma, is that right?
Yes, we're still enjoying some summer heat, but we do have our fall decorations out, so we're hoping.
We're really actually familiar with that. When we lived in Florida, the uh, the scarves and the boots and the jackets would come out just because it was the season. Oh,
Yes.
it was still 110 degrees out, but the girls just couldn't help themselves, so they'd bring out the winter gear.
Oh, yes, my husband's from Florida, the Panhandle, and when I would come out to visit his family in the wintertime, I just didn't know if I should wear flip-flops or a cardigan. It was a dilemma every time.
It is. It's like they feel like they have to have it at some point in the year, even if you're sweating it out.
Oh, of course. At least get a color scheme going.
Exactly.
And before we started, you mentioned you're really close to Texas and you have tarantulas and you kind of like in a high desert region. Is that right?
Yes, luckily we have a gated yard, and I didn't realize the purpose of the gate. Mostly the fenced-in area was coyotes and all that good stuff. I'm familiar with some of that wildlife being from the Chicago area, but a little different out here.
Definitely a little different. I just brought it up because we used to live in New Mexico.
Hmm.
And
Oh, okay.
at one point, we were very close to the Texas border. And I actually remember driving down the road one time. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes, I do.
We didn't know what we were driving over. The road was scattered with it. And then we realized it was tarantulas. They were
huge.
crawling
Oh
all
my.
over the road. And we were just blowing down this like lonesome highway. And like looking out the window on like my driver's side door, trying to figure out what I'm running over. I'm like, oh my God, those are all tarantulas.
That's
So
horrifying.
So big. And we had a car, there was no issues with this car. It got so hot on this highway that the AC stopped working in
Oh
West
my
Texas. Yeah, so we
goodness.
understand the heat that you probably get over there. It was brutal there.
Oh, yes. There was a couple days, I want to say it was during my husband's deployment where we were without an air conditioner for about 3 days.
Mm-mm.
Two kids under two.
No.
Yeah, they were troopers. They were.
Were they? I would have been the one whining and complaining. That's
Oh, I was. I was.
that happened when we lived in Florida. The hurricane hit, and it was
Oh, goodness.
September, and we had no AC for a week. It was true survival to me.
well, that's not true. We didn't have AC for like a day. You're forgetting.
Oh no, I thought we went like 2 days before we got smart.
Maybe it felt like a week. It was like maybe. And then we went and moved into our camper and ran a generator, so it all worked out.
Oh, man.
It's just word to the wise: prepare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Preparedness.
I've learned
around
I have all these kits everywhere just in case, especially after having kids. Because for one person, okay, got it. But when you have a whole family, it's
Mhm.
survival mode all the time.
Well, how about you? Can you give us a little background information on yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, please, so people know
Yeah.
why we have you on?
Yeah, of course. So I'm from the Chicago area. I was a former full-time educator. Middle school was my specialty, but elementary ed was what I went to school for. Many endorsements, and I also minored in Spanish. So I went from not being able to find a job initially because it was at the time where finding a teacher job was so challenging. So I ended up with my proficiency in Spanish becoming a Spanish teacher. So I did that for a few years, 4th through 8th grade. Then I transitioned to 5th grade. And after that, I moved to the public school setting where I taught 8th grade ESL. That would be my favorite. It was mostly boys and they were a riot. So that prepared me for being a boy mom for sure. And after that, we moved to Oklahoma. That's where we began being a military family. And I taught 7th grade science and then segued to part-time once I had my son. And I taught ESL, basic education for adults. It was
Wow.
really fun. so fun. And for us and what we're doing now, we transitioned to homeschooling. And the reason for that, my family has a lot of great stories with homeschooling and success stories. My aunt, especially in her family, she has triplets, and they're now in the college setting, grad setting. They are such success stories. So I knew, I said, okay, she has my back. She's giving me all these resources. I'm going to look into it. And I have, and I've started doing preschool homeschooling here in Oklahoma.
Wow. So you actually did have family that you knew that did it. That's really neat.
Yes, and they travel too, all over the United States. They weren't military, but they traveled because of work, and they just did it, and their family is so close and so successful, whether it be with their education or their careers. And I just wanted to be a part of that. So that's why I'm here today.
Wow. But yeah, that's not usually the story. It's usually you go without knowing anyone. And then it's also, I always love hearing that educators, people who are in the education field actually switch over to homeschool their kids. Because sometimes I just feel like it's kind of an encouragement to homeschooling families that, you know, even those who were in that field think that this is a great option for their families and for kids. And like you said, there are many successful stories. You know, you don't have to be in school to have that successful story.
Well, something
Oh,
else you
yes.
mentioned. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. Oh, I'm just agreeing full-heartedly.
What I was gonna say was we brought that up the other day was, you know, something that's really neat about homeschooling is that it's not just about the education. You mentioned that they're very close as a family, and
Yes.
since doing this, we realize that's a big part of this. Is it's not just about the schooling. It's brought our family a lot closer together. We spend a lot more quality time with each other, and we're not rushing around as much, going back and forth to schools and all the activities that are over at the schools. We go to activities still, but our world is, you know, a lot more confined within our, you know, family unit, which has been
That's
awesome.
wonderful. Yes, definitely with the military life too. Knowing that my husband has to go on deployments or field exercises or late nights, knowing that he can come home and then we're in the middle of something and he can be engaged in other activities that we're doing is so fantastic. And that has been really inspiring too, just seeing how we can be involved as a family, no matter where we're at. That has been really helpful to see too, how it just really impacts our relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So I assume then that you probably see homeschooling for the long run.
That's what I'm seeing for sure, especially with my education background. I so miss doing it full time. I know when I was applying for jobs and they heard military, they're like, "Oh, I don't know." Even if you know you have like a great resume and great experience, I did apply to a school and it was successful and worked out great. But then transitioning to part time, not having that dependable childcare, not knowing where we're going to be at or what my husband's schedule was going to be really made it challenging. A lot of flexibility on my employer's end, but I felt like I don't want to feel like I have to be so unpredictable as someone that
Yeah.
takes my career so seriously.
Mhm.
So doing homeschooling was so great because it was still allowing me to practice what I learned and do what I love, as well as share it with my boys. So that's been really great.
Yeah. No, I understand because it wasn't up until our third child, who's now 3, that I was at the end of my pregnancy with him that I resigned from my job. And I always felt that guilt when I would apply for jobs because it was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, you know? And I would tell him that. I was like, I just feel so guilty. But, you know, I guess it's something we share, you know, as military spouses who are in the working field. You do kind of share that feeling because they didn't look at it that way, but the feeling didn't go away, that me just being like, okay, you know, I'm going to come work for you, but I just don't know how long. And then I always felt bad when I knew like our time was coming up, and I would give them like a whole year in advance, like we're on our last year. Because at least with us, we know like when our time is coming up. But I get that. And I do think that that's probably also why so many military families do end up homeschooling, because of the stability because everything else in our lives can feel so unstable or unpredictable.
Oh, for sure. And even just the confrontation part of, oh, I don't know when I'm able to, you know, stay until, and even for me, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be confrontational about this, but they know it's a profession, it's not personal. So that's why I segued not only to homeschooling, but doing the lifestyle blog, because I knew, okay, that's something I can control. That's something I could still provide as a resource for others, such as my homeschooling section, and still feel like it's all under control and I'm not having to leave anything behind.
Yeah, so can you tell our listeners the name of your platform and basically what you have on your site there?
Oh yeah, of course. So it's called It's a Military Life, and it's a lifestyle blog as well as a networking community. And it's really expanded from the time I began, and it officially launched in June. And that was around the time that we were getting settled into our second deployment. I have 2 kids. So the first deployment was 1 child, and he was about 5 months. And then the second was kind of the same situation, but my first son was older. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, this second deployment, I'm going to be the helper this time and not the one always needing to be helped. And I looked at all these resources online that were already there. And I'm like, well, I want to create a website where I can network with all the resources that are already there and spotlight all these great military spouses and all their wonderful stories, and make sure that people don't feel alone during their deployments, as well as just making people understand that they too can have an identity and don't have to be waiting for their spouse to return. So so the website has all these different lifestyle content, all these great stories from military spouses, and really just sets us up to be a community that builds on each other's successes. So it's been really exciting.
I love that.
Yeah.
The military is like notorious for making it really hard to find resources. They offer a ton of resources, but trying to find them is like entering a black hole.
A little bit.
It's always everything's always scattered around. It's never in like the place you think it's going to be, and it's like going on a scavenger hunt trying to find it. And when Anita said, "Hey, you got to check this girl's website out, you know, It's a Military Life," and so I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Everything is just very neatly set up and easy to work with and easy to find, and what you're doing is really awesome. I just want to say thank you for doing that. I think it's important for people like you to do what you're doing, because when we leave, it's way harder for you guys than it is for us. It really is. Like, it stinks for us to leave and be gone and be away from our family. But when we go, we have a very specific thing we need to do. And that's what we do. But when you're back home taking care of kids and the bills and everything else that comes along with regular life, and that's way harder to do that stuff by yourself. It really is. And so your website is great. And if we have military families listening, it's definitely something you should check out, because like you said, it's good to know that there's other people in the same position as you. And you also mentioned that this time around you wanted to be the person that helps and doesn't need help. We are, especially as military families, there's certain times in your career that you're the one that's like always raising your hand, like, please, I'm the new guy here. Can somebody please help me? You know, I don't know what's happening. You either get transferred, or, you know, your spouse is gone, and Anita's trying to figure out what's going on and what to do while I'm gone. Same for you and other families. But yeah, I think the way you have your site laid out is really, really great and easy to maneuver around.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Definitely the positivity helps because it is seriously is a full-time job. Just making sure that you're posting and also you're representing who you're posting really well. The website is not just me writing. I also have featured contributors, and that's huge because you are representing what they stand for in their platform or their small business. We highlight small businesses as well. And I always tell them, okay, I'm going to be posting at this time, check it over, because I see It's a Military Life as kind of like a hub for military families and even the veteran community we've been working with, that this is a place for them to see what's out there as well as represent themselves too.
When you brought up the veterans, it made me think of how you guys are collaborating with Letters to Our Veterans, right? For your pen pal project.
Yeah, so we've been revamping it. We are going to be still doing the old school veteran pen pal project, and with that project, we have been working with the Lawton Fort Sill Veteran Center, and they have been fantastic. And what we're hoping, and it's still in the works, is to be working with another group as well. So it's still in the works. We're going to be having an official meeting coming out soon where we will continue doing the Veteran Pen Pal project, and it will be holiday themed. So we're really excited, and it's just a great program. That program started with the idea that all these veterans and all these people in facilities, especially nursing homes or assisted living facilities, they don't have any visitors, especially during COVID. I know we received a pen pal letter where Larry, shout out to Larry, wrote that he has not had visitors for 18 weeks. 18 weeks at that time, and now it's only been more. So before that, I talked to the Lawton Fort Sill Veteran Center, and I said, hey, I've volunteered with you before. Would you be interested in this program? And they said, this is perfect because someone just asked me yesterday about having pen pals. So I organized it with Marilyn Woods at the Lawton Veteran Center and just went from there. So what we're doing right now is just kind of restructuring, making sure it's easy on both ends. And one of my best friends, Caitlin, she is still getting back and forth letters from her her veteran pen pal, and it's been great. It's been great. So we're just continuing on with that and collaborating with other groups just to figure out how to reach as many people as possible.
Now, do you have kids that sign up like with their families to do this?
Yeah, so it's been children, adults, civilian, military, and they've been sending letters, pictures, uh, adorable crafts. So right now we're working on figuring out who else to reach with this program, and the one in particular we're working with is a hospice group, which will be fantastic. So yeah, so keep sending out those letters to Lawton Fort Sill Center. All the information is on my website under our Pay It Forward tab, the Veteran Pen Pal Project.
So if somebody wanted to get involved that was listening, they could go to your site and start.
Yes. So all the information's there, at least the starting information, sending it still to the Lawton Fort Sill Center via snail mail, as well as you can email your letter directly to Marilyn Woods, which is great. And she prints it out for you and then partners you up with the pen pal.
Aww.
That's awesome. We were just actually talking about this on the episode we're going to release later today. But before COVID, we were going up to the nursing home up the road, and I would just go and
Great.
swing in on my ride home from work and sit with some of the vets there and talk to them. And if people don't know this, there's a lot of Larrys out there. There really is. There's so many of them that before COVID, they don't have any family to come visit them. They don't have any friends to come visit them. And they just sit in these homes and don't have any visitors. And there's some people who do, but there's a big portion of these guys who don't. And this guy, he did have this one guy did have family, but he was a World War II vet, and he was just
goodness.
Yes, and it was just so great to sit down with him and listen to his stories. But I would implore anybody that's listening to get to your website and do this, because I think a lot of people don't step forward and like go visit these people at the homes because they don't know them. It can be kind of awkward at first. You think it's going to be, at least it's not, but you think it's going to be awkward because you're just walking into a strange place and meeting a strange person. They will make you feel comfortable like the second you walk into this place, or that and if all you can do is write a letter, then write a letter. But they appreciate this more than anything you could ever imagine. And it's really sad because I go with work too. A couple months ago, before it shut down, we were going up to the Veterans Hospital here in Cleveland, and we would go take guys up there and visit.
Oh, it's so nice.
There, and they would just start flocking us because they sit around most of their day watching television and not having anyone to speak with. And it makes you realize how many lonely people there are out there. And these guys are just like yearning for, company and a friend. And if there's something you want to get involved with, or, homeschooling families, you want your children to get involved with, this is like an awesome opportunity that, especially with COVID, it's kind of hard right now, but with your program to be able to just write a letter, especially email, and it's that simple. These guys will appreciate it more than you know. So when she told me that you were doing that, I think that's so cool, because it's a need that's not getting met.
Yes, and that's what I was seeing, especially when I started. I volunteered as a teacher initially. I was a part of the military child club at my middle school, and we did painting programs, we did little parties, and I've been volunteering with nursing homes and facilities for years now, years, even when I was a child. And even as a child, my family, we had relatives that were in nursing homes, and I felt so comfortable there. It felt like a second family, all the people around, and I would go to bingo nights and all that. And it was just so great. And you just don't know people's stories. And also thinking that they have so much left to share and contribute. And I want to be that person that can give them that voice, whether it be through letters, phone calls, and hopefully later on within the next few months or within the year, visits, and for them to know that we want to know their story. And that's also a very important part too.
Well, I liken it to this. People sit on their couches with a bowl of popcorn and watch like Band of Brothers and all these war movies. You can drive 5 minutes up the road and hear the story from the dude that lived through it. And that's the truth. I don't know how many times I've gone. I've listened to Vietnam veterans. I've talked to POWs, World War II vets. You want to hear some crazy stories and some amazing stories? All you have to do is go up there. They'll sit and have a cup of coffee with you and tell you all about it. And you'll leave there with a head full of stories that you couldn't have possibly imagined before you got there. And you'll just be amazed. And you think to yourself, one day these stories are going to all be gone soon, and there's nobody there to listen to them. But if you get up off your couch and drive down the road, you can go and just, you can take it all in. I love going there and listening to these guys. It's awesome. I come home every time I do it. I come home and I'm like a little kid. I'm like telling her all these stories and how this guy, wasn't it Normandy, stormed the beaches in Normandy, and was some other guy was a POW, and you can't imagine the stories these guys have. And they're just
Oh,
sitting
yeah.
there staring at TVs and staring at walls with nobody to tell them to.
No, that's so great. And my husband and I, we went with our little one. It must have been last year, and we were playing pool and just talking and enjoying each other. And it was great because I looked at it as we both were getting something out of this great opportunity. And yeah, that's what I do when I visit my grandfather. He's in assisted living right now, and he can't be around his family who would love to visit him every moment, every day. And that also sparked this project. And he is a veteran himself. And I just knew, I said, okay, let's get this out here. And with the homeschooling, I was telling people, because I'm part of homeschooling groups on Facebook and also affiliated with my church on posts, because a lot of posts have great homeschooling groups through churches on base. And I said, okay, let's make this a lesson. Let's make it a writing lesson. Let's work on our vocabulary and how to write a letter. I know it's such an old school thing, but it's great.
Oh,
It's so great.
absolutely. I agree. I was going to say that I just didn't want to kill the moment, but yes, not only is this a wonderful deed for our community and for our veterans, but there's a learning curve here too for our children, which is
Yes.
very important as well. And I love
Oh,
that,
totally.
you said you brought your son with you, and he brought our daughter last time with him, because I think it's important that our kids see that too. I mean, obviously right now with COVID, we can't be going in, but all of that, it's really important for our kids.
Yes, definitely a field trip.
Yes.
It's a field trip, a learning moment, and it's live and present right there. You don't have to watch a YouTube video, like you were saying. They are there to answer all your questions and tell them all their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think it helps with the kids with the empathy too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They
Yes.
see people who, hopefully for a lot of kids, there's some kids in bad situations, but most kids, they don't see that side of life. Somebody that's stuck in a home, and you have to explain to them, look, they're here because they can't take care of themselves, their family can't take care of them, and they need someone to come talk to them, and we're going to go do that. And I think that's a
Yes.
really great life lesson.
Yeah. Last
Oh,
time
totally.
when we were in Florida, our daughter and you went and delivered a pizza to one of the guys.
Oh yes.
That's so nice.
Well, we went to this place, and I just went and talked to these guys, and they were eating some food that did not look too appetizing. And I was like, hey guys, what do you guys like to eat? And he's like, I like pizza. I said, I'll be back next week with pizza. And he's like, okay. We showed up the next week with maybe 4 or 5 pizzas, and I just flopped them down. I said, guys, enjoy. Like, I promise I'll be
Oh,
back.
that's so great.
But it was fun.
Yeah. And again, our child saw that. I feel like it was an important life lesson. So like you said,
Yes.
the factor and thinking of others.
Totally.
So was there maybe one moment that inspired you to build this platform, or has it just been an accumulation?
I would say both, but definitely there was that one moment where I'm like, okay, I've discovered my spark. And why I say that is there's an amazing military spouse. Her name is Brittany Bosher, and I believe I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She's fantastic. So she was AFI's 2017 Military Spouse of the Year, and she came to Fort Sill to do a USO workshop. And it was fantastic. I was really in workshop mode. I was pregnant with my second. I'm like, okay, I'm not able to move around as much as I could or that I would want to. So I'm going to do a workshop. And oh my goodness, she was so inspiring. And her whole thing was discovering your spark and figuring out what is your why. Oh my gosh, yeah, I have to start asking myself, okay, why am I doing X, Y, and Z? Is it something that is going to be a positive part of my life? And after I listened to her story, which was so inspiring, and just just felt her energy and her positivity radiate through the room. Like, oh my gosh, she's going through so much and still is inspiring everyone in the room. And that really got me started. And then from there, kind of just thought of the idea and just kind of brainstormed with a bunch of friends, whether they were military spouses or even my veteran friends. And they said, yeah, why don't you do this? You are someone that likes to network and connect, and I am someone that likes social media. So that worked out really great. So that's how the blog started. I just did one blog post, and it was kind of during a difficult time in the United States where I just wanted to just share out how I was feeling and how wonderful the military community is as a whole. And then it just went from there, and I just thought about what I could bring to the table, my skills and my gifts, and that's education and community building. And so I did that. And then I created the Facebook group and the Instagram group, the communities, and just loved how I was connecting with people and not scrolling through my personal feed and just seeing a lot of negativity. I was creating the positive blog posts. I was creating the positive interactions and engagements. And it was a choice I was making to be the change agent. And that brings me full circle. My aunt, who was the homeschooling family, she told me, we were walking around, I was visiting her in Florida, and she said, Christy, just be the change agent. Don't expect others to lead. You be the leader. And with It's Military Life, I want people to remember that they are the leads in their own stories. And that's so important for people to remember, whether you're a military spouse, a veteran, or just an individual, you are the lead in your story.
Absolutely. I read your latest blog post titled that, Be the Lead in Your Own Story. And I just thought that was so encouraging. It was just perfectly said.
Oh, thank
And
you.
like you said, it's not just for military spouses, that's really for anyone.
Yes.
And especially so many that might be at home, maybe stay-at-home moms, homeschooling parents, anyone. But I feel like a lot of those other ones that we just named tend to feel lost because maybe they are at home needing to tend to their family and they don't get to go out in the world. And with military spouses, we're constantly moving. There's always this change. You never feel settled. So I think that is just perfectly said, how you say to be the lead in your own story. And we actually just recorded an episode on the importance of not losing your identity. And this is just a great example of taking charge of who you are. And I even referenced, it's so funny that you said the with the spark, because when I was talking about identity, I was saying find ways to keep your identity flame burning. So it was
Oh,
funny.
that's so, and it goes with your tagline too, like keeping the
Yes,
flame like lit, and it's so perfect, right?
it really is. All right, so now that you are homeschooling your kids and started this business, I'd like to know, how do you balance it all?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I am someone that likes to do a lot all at once. That's just, I guess, teacher mentality, mom mentality. I just like to be doing a bunch of things all at once. And that's part of me, but also part of me is wanting a schedule. So it's been trial and error, but knowing that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be Pinterest perfect, for sure. It's not going to be Pinterest perfect. We're not going to have a filter on this. It's real life, and we have a schedule. I have a little calendar in our kitchen area. That's our workspace for homeschooling, and my son knows. Okay, it's morning time. It's breakfast. We talk about the calendar. We talk about the date, the weather. How are we feeling? Maybe there's a holiday or a special activity, and that's our starting point. We'll kind of relax. We'll do some type of outside activity in the morning, whether it be walking or going out the back, playing and engaging with each other while learning. And then throughout the day, we can keep that schedule going, whether it be making sure we keep our nap times. That's very important. Our reading rests. We still do that with our almost 3-year-old, and that's just magic because I get everything done during their nap times. And after that, we have a set learning time, because with pre-K, it doesn't have to be all day, as if they're in preschool, part-time preschool, or all-day preschool, or daycare. It is a set amount. We do about 20-30 minutes of instruction. The curriculum that we're kind of playing around with right now is playing preschool.
Yes.
Love it, love it. I've been doing a lot of the activities through her Instagram as well as through her website, but we're starting to kind of feel out, okay, how are we going to start this curriculum? Because I'm just wanting my son to kind of get used to the learning objectives. We have a pre-K goal sheet that is right by his calendar. He actually looks at it because it's great because it has images on it, and it talks about, okay, making sure he knows how to count to a certain number, even, addressing his address, making sure he's familiar with that, his shapes, and knowing that he also knows his objectives is so important. Even though he's only almost 3, he knows that we have objectives for the day. There's a clear understanding. And that's what I did as a middle school teacher. Even with my 13, 14-year-olds, we had something on the board, clear objectives, the standards, and they knew the schedule from the moment they came into the classroom till they sat down. And whether it be my classroom or at home, they were never just sitting there and staring at a textbook or taking notes. We had those moments where, especially as they get older, they have to do those things. But hands-on is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good that the kids kind of know what to expect too sometimes, even if it's very loose, like even if it's just what people like to call their rhythm, if it's not like a schedule, but knowing those expectations, I feel like help, which I'm sure also helps you with balancing, your work and now educating them. So they know those times where you have to work on your stuff. And
Oh yes, he knows, oh, mommy's working, and I'll have him, help me with whatever activity we're doing. And like, he has helped me with a pen pal letter. Like, I showed him, okay, this is what we're doing, and I explained it to him. And kids know so much more than you think, no matter what age they're at. And it's great because he'll say to me, like, oh, mommy, I had fun. And he'll tell me what we were doing, and mommy working on the computer, and I show him who I'm talking to or talking about. And that's a vocabulary lesson in itself for technology, showing him how to post something.
No, and I think it's great that, again, that they see their parent, they have the opportunity to see a parent working from home too, which is another learning point and curve in itself. I just wanted to bring that up because I know that there are listeners out there who are either already working from home and homeschooling or maybe considering it, and just encouragement to know that others are, handling it and juggling it all.
Sure. It's manageable.
Yes. Yeah. It's just an adjustment. We were just saying that how even with the podcast, it's a hobby but there is a lot of time we put into this hobby.
Yes.
And we love it, but we have had to make adjustments and, tweak things to make sure that we're, meeting our jobs, which, he goes out and does his job, me with the homeschooling, and then our family time, and then also our personal time, and then this fun hobby on the side as well. So it is a juggling act, but you just have to adjust and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yes, definitely. And for me, it was in the very beginning, like, okay, the intensity of getting it started and then kind of losing that balance between family and work, and then kind of getting into a period where I was trying to figure out, okay, I need to start balancing. but then going back into it and saying, no, this is important to me. I'm going to schedule out time for something that's so important right now and is my why and is my spark. So
That's funny you say it. We're laughing because the episode we're going to put out today, we literally said what you just said.
oh my God.
Almost word for word.
Yeah, to listen to it.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's gonna be great.
we're talking about, you have to take time for yourself as well, like for personal interests.
Yes.
Being a great parent doesn't mean that you completely give up on yourself and put 100% focus on your kids, because then you have a hole in your life and you're not going to be the best parent you can be. So we were saying that, we found this to be something that we enjoy doing together, and we make sure that there's time in our life for it, along with some other things. We see, exercise, working out, exercise, that kind of thing. But the kids have to know that it's okay that I take some time for myself, and it's
Yes.
gonna happen, and you guys can go and hang out and play and figure out what to do. But this is gonna happen regardless of how you feel about it.
Yes. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And I've seen that, even as a teacher before being a mom, as well as now a teacher as a mom, knowing that no, it's okay to say no, we're not doing this right now, or okay, snack time is in about 15 minutes. I have to finish this up. And this having that flexibility, because it makes them just better people themselves, knowing that things don't just come to you so easily throughout your day, and whether it be at home or outside the home, sometimes you have to wait, sometimes you have to be patient, sometimes you have to work for what you are wanting to get at that moment. And it's been great for my almost 3-year-old and even my little almost 1-year-old, just being patient, because they too have to learn those skills.
Yes. We have a 3-year-old, we know.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure this takes you into weird hours of the night and maybe early mornings as well. Or am I?
Yes. Early mornings I'm working on. I listen to all these podcasts, and oh my gosh, all these amazing people saying, yeah, I wake up at like about 5:30, sometimes 4. I'm like, not quite there yet. 7 right now. But my kids, they're such good nappers. And like right now I hear one banging on his little crib, I hear him banging or singing and all that kind of stuff, waiting for us to come get him and feed him his, what is it, lunch almost, or his second lunch.
I also eat a second lunch, so I understand.
Oh yes, my husband as well. Early dinners that turn into the first dinner, which then comes into the second dinner, because
Yes.
he still wants to eat more. Yeah, so it's been such a great experience. And yes, carving that time out and just having purpose with your time during your day. And I think that's what I mean by scheduling too. I do have a schedule on my Google Apps. I do have a schedule on my refrigerator, my whiteboard on my refrigerator, but there's definitely room for flexibility. It just helps me. I was just reading someone's message. It was a really cool thing I'm part of. It's called AMSE. It's an association for military spouse entrepreneurs. And there was this thing that was posted where the woman said, okay, how do I manage everything? Like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. What do you guys do? And she said, one of the responders said, just have 3 to 4 tasks each day that you say, I'm going to complete. You can't always complete everything. So that really helped me to have a schedule, but also be task oriented.
Yeah. I keep hearing that as some really good advice, that you just start with like short lists, because in that way you don't get overwhelmed and you're like, I can do this. And then once you do that, you're like, oh, that was easy. And then maybe you have time to keep going from there.
Well, there's also a psychological part of that where you feel like you've accomplished something, and it really does give you like more energy to keep accomplishing things. Like, and since we started this, we really focused on that, because I'm the type of person, if I have like a lazy day, I hate it. I feel terrible. You know, I don't.
Yeah, that's how I am.
I am, yeah. If I don't like accomplish things that I wanted to accomplish, I can't just like sit around and watch like a football game all day and like not do anything. I that's just not me. So with this podcast, we've really gotten into doing that, like making lists and checking off boxes. And then by the time you go to sleep at night, you feel great.
Me too.
At least for us.
Yes.
It's worked for us.
Yeah, that's how I am. I feel so great when I know I've accomplished things on my to-do list. And for me, I'm very service oriented. So knowing that I helped someone or you know, I made that lawn chair set, in the backyard of my husband, and it's finally out there. Things, small things like that, sometimes totally cloud everything else, such as, your homeschooling schedule, because you didn't do something that needed to be done around the house, or you didn't do that self-care thing, such as working out, making sure you get all that stuff done first. Then everything else just falls into place so much more easily.
It does. That's right.
There's a great, this goes for anybody. This is, homeschooling families, but anybody that like just needs to feel like they need a boost. There's a great YouTube video, and it's a speech by a Navy SEAL commander, I believe. And his speech is about, it starts with, the first thing in the morning is that you should do is make your bed.
Yes,
I
love that speech.
And
Oh yeah,
the first time you watch it, you're like, what is this guy talking about? Making your bed. I always make my bed, and that's obviously probably from our training that
Boot
boot
camp.
camp and stuff, that you had to do. But his point is that if you don't accomplish anything else today, you made your bed, and that was an accomplishment. but typically, because you did that, it's a mental thing where, okay, I checked that box. I made my bed. That's what I was supposed to start the day off with. What's next? And I think I loved watching it. I thought it was really cool. If you, I don't know what the name of it is, but if people want to look it up, like just write Navy SEAL, make your bed, and I guarantee you
it comes up fast.
Right.
It does.
On YouTube.
It does.
So it's great. It's very like inspirational and motivational. I loved it.
Yeah, it's great because it talks about just treating the simple tasks of your day, or just the simple things, with such value. And so everything else will fall into place and also be treated with such respect and detail. And yeah, that was a great speech. And he also talks about working with others, no matter where people come from, and all this beautiful stuff that we need to hear, right now, during this time. It's such a great speech. Yeah, I actually posted something about that, a long time ago on my Instagram, in my Instagram profile. And one of my friends who's our Motivation Monday contributor, she then later on, when she was part of our team, she posted it later on. I'm like, oh, I'm totally cool with a repost, because this is so important.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. I'll
Link it.
We'll put it in the show notes for people if they want to watch it.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's life-changing. It definitely is.
I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna have to watch it now after you guys talking about this. I'm intrigued. So you mentioned on your platform you do have a homeschooling section. What can people expect to find there? And then do you think it's just for military families, or can others benefit from it?
Yeah, so with our platform name, It's Military Life, it's somewhat deceiving in a way, because really it's my lifestyle. It's whatever lifestyle that you have. It's so relatable to not only military families, but just families in general. I do not come from a military family. We have military in our family, World War II, Vietnam, Korean Wars, but not family members that I was constantly interacting with, such as my parents or siblings. And It's just been great because I've expanded from just sharing about military life to the lifestyle content and specifically the homeschooling section. So if you go to the website, you're going to see It's a Military Child Life and then scroll down and see homeschooling. And with the homeschooling section, I have anything from discussing through the blog posts about different homeschooling styles, learning styles, making sure you're always thinking about your child's learning style and what works best with him or her. Also featuring different homeschooling families, as well as you all. I have you as a featured podcast. And on that page, which is so exciting because people can just click and then they can go right to your page. I also have a Pinterest. Specifically, I have a list of essential pre-K, what should you buy for your school supplies? Just those little things you don't really think about.
Yeah.
And it really connects with the curriculum that we'll be using, which is the playing preschool. And that's what really everyone should have, those essentials when they first start, whether it's pre-K or any group, knowing that you have those materials, you can just go from there. Really helps having those materials, being organized. So I have all that, a link to the Instagram community that we're constantly interacting with homeschooling families
Yes.
on, and just a lot of great resources, links. I also have a great blog post by a military teen, which is so cool, about how they talk about homeschooling was a great experience for them and their perspective. So a lot of resources, a lot of just places to go from that website.
Love it. If a military family wants to homeschool, do you happen to know of any resources that the military offers for those families?
Yeah, so during this time, there's been a lot of great resources out there. There is free tutor.com. So if you go to tutor.com/military, it's all free. It's not just tutoring. There's a lot of different resources that they have out there. I'm happy to share with you the PDFs and the links to that. I'm actually going to be collaborating with them to share out more about what they do. It's fantastic. Such a great resource, K through 12. All these great ways to help your child with whatever subject that you are learning. I know we talked about the Military Child Education Coalition. I know I read their news release. They got, I believe it was $700,000 of relief money donated by USAA. So they have a link, it's called usa.com/coronavirus. So all that information's out there to help military families just during these really hard economical times. And Army Emergency Relief. That one was sent to me by my mentor. She's a military spouse as well as a veteran herself. And that one's really great. You can get up to $500 per family for school supplies and just anything that you need as a homeschooling family, and especially those families that have transitioned from being at school, whether it be public or private, to homeschooling.
Yeah.
It's a great way to have that backup, especially if you weren't planning on having that funding for you. $500 per family K through 12, and they have a 0 interest loan grant as well as a combo plan for families. As long as you're K through 12 and you're set. So definitely reach out. I believe it's armyemergencyrelief.com.
Okay. Which we'll probably get that link from you.
Yes.
I am somewhat familiar with Military Child Education Coalition because I don't know how I did, but I came across a homeschooling workshop they were giving and attended it
That's
online.
great.
Yes, and then now I get emails. So they do actually offer workshops every now and then that cater to homeschooling families. And after I attended it, I got this printout, and I just remembered it today that I have this printout saved on my laptop that they give you with like 2 pages worth of resources and links to homeschooling families. So, and any of our listeners that are military, that's definitely an agency I would check out their website because I even found help in going to their workshops. I think it's great to go to any workshop. It's, professional development is how I see it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And even as homeschool teachers, you need that professional development all the time. Definitely.
Yeah. But that's my head. Did you have anything else?
Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to put out there?
Yeah, just find us on our website. So it's militarylife.com. We have everything from military spouse stories and family experiences that are so inspirational, fitness, wellness, recipes. We're doing a recipe book that I hopefully will be publishing within the next year or so. Send me those recipes. I really just want for us to feel like we can come together and learn from each other, and food. What better way to learn from each other through food? So we have that going on.
A little bit.
Oh, say it again.
I'm sorry, can you explain that cookbook a little bit, because our listeners don't know what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so it's a military life. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, why not bring people together through recipes? And on my website, we have a recipe section, and so many times I get so much engagement when it comes to food. And there was a quote, I don't want to botch it, but there's a quote from Ronald Reagan saying that change happens at the dinner table. And specifically talking about military families, and with this being a platform in the United States, the American dinner table. And this can be anyone coming from any country, any state, any town, where they want to share the recipe as well as share a bio about themselves. It does not have to be military, it can be civilian as well, because I think we like at this time we just need to come together. And I remember I was so involved with international students when I was in college, and even as a military spouse, I'm going to be working on working with spouses that are from different countries, and really being a voice also for military families that are multilingual as well as multicultural. And that's the best way to reach people during these difficult times: food, culture, connecting. So we have that, and it is a blog post, and I'll share that with you. They can just send it to christy@itsmilitarylife.com. And we have all these other great things. We have the Pay It Forward section where you can learn how to get involved and volunteer, and so much more. And like we talked about before, there's a section for children as well, resources. It's Military Life is also a partner with Partners in Promise, which is an advocacy group for families that have children with special needs or exceptional needs. And so I'm still connected with the schools, public schools, private schools. And that's great, because then I am still in the know, and we really are a educational community,
Yes.
a community, no matter if you're homeschooling or not, we're all wanting the same goal, is to teach our students, which are children, how to be well-rounded individuals. So a ton going on there. We're also on Facebook. We have 2 groups that I think your group would be interested in. We have It's a Military Life and It's a Military Child Life, as well as Instagram. So we're all over the place, really.
And we'll make sure we'll link all those.
Yes.
Yes.
I had 2 things to add. So we have her sister on our blog, and she does a lot of recipes.
Mhm.
So we're definitely going to send her your link to I'm sure she would love to
Please.
send you a recipe.
Yes.
She's awesome too. She's really good.
I follow it. There was a recent one, that dessert that she recently posted. Oh my goodness. I saved it. I screenshotted it. We will be making that.
Agree.
Yeah, she has some great ones, and they're all recipes that are super, like a lot of them are really healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm the first person, I'm like, that sounds disgusting, Nina. I'm not going to eat a chickpea muffin. I killed the entire batch in one sitting. It was delicious. You wouldn't even know they were made from healthy items. And then the second one was, we're hoping, we talked about this before, not to put you on the spot, but we're hoping that maybe you, in the future, you would be a guest blogger on our website.
Yes, I would love that. I just love your mission. I don't even remember how we first started connecting. I think I just saw something that you posted, and I was just, trying to figure out homeschooling myself. And I just loved how connected your family was to each other and just to nature. That was really cool too. And then it kind of just went from there. The homeschooling community is so connected and so supportive.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of went from not just doing It's a Military Life, but It's a Military Child Life, because I wanted to make sure I included the homeschooling groups and all that provides for our military families and just families in general. So it's just been such a great experience overall. And I think that's why we're all over the place. And I had to create all those sections in my on my website, because there really is so much to life, whether it be food or homeschooling. We cover it all.
Awesome. Well, we want to say thank you for coming on. We really enjoyed it. And we want to tell everybody, please head over to it'samilitarylife.com, check it out, but especially start sending some letters over there. I think that's so important that what you're doing there. So thank you for coming on, and have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.